validation, now I validate myself. Building inner strength, putting doubt up on the shelf. No more unnecessary drama, no more wasted time. Climbing higher constantly, making my own climb. Standing on higher ground, where excellence is found. My potential knows no bounds. Raising the bar, breaking ground. My network is my net worth. Choose your company wise. Surround yourself with eagles, not with sheep in disguise. Every interaction is a reflection of my brand. Quality over quantity, that's my personal command. Standing on higher ground, where excellence is found. My potential knows no bounds. Raising the bar, breaking ground. Whoa. I'm not just living, I'm manifesting my vision. Cutting through limitations with surgical precision. My expectations are my compass, my respect is my shield. To mediocrity and chaos, I will never yield. I'm not just living, I'm manifesting my vision. Cutting through limitations with surgical precision. My expectations are my compass, my respect is my shield. To mediocrity and chaos, I will never yield. Standing on higher ground, where excellence is found. My potential knows no bounds. Raising the bar, breaking ground. I'm not just living, I'm manifesting my vision. Cutting through limitations with surgical precision. My expectations are my compass, my respect is my shield. To mediocrity and chaos, I will never yield.
How you doing, ladies and gentlemen? Welcome to This and That. I'm your host, Xander, where we're talking about this, that, everything in between. I really appreciate you guys and your patience for today. We started off a little bit late today. It has been a wild ride for me today. Got to tell you, I've been back to back. I've been working on some stuff throughout the night and then early into the morning, and the morning not getting enough sleep, bleeding right into the rest of the day. And just when I think I can take a nap, no, I've got back-to-back things. I accomplished a lot of stuff today. Sounds like yesterday, doesn't it? But even though I accomplished a lot of stuff today, I still ran into some hurdles, and then we had some issues with the internet and the browser crashed, starting a half hour late, 45 minutes late almost as it stands. Nevertheless, we are live 7 nights a week. And as we've said before, that we don't let the sun rise without going live. So always make sure that you guys like and subscribe because we have a different topic every day of the week. And we typically are supposed to start at the top of the hour at about 10 o'clock Central Standard Time, and 11 o'clock Eastern Standard Time, and about 7 o'clock California time, which is about 3 a.m. Green Minutes time, and 4 a.m. Green Minutes time, and 4 a.m. Universal Standard Time. That's the correct times that we're supposed to start. And as I've told you guys before, if in the event that we're operating on CP time, it's always a good idea to hang around a little bit and dive into it once we get started, because we might start a little bit late from time to time. one-man operation on this side of the coast, because the other coast, we got some stuff going on the other side, but you know, I can't be everywhere at once. Therefore, I have to accept the fact that there are going to be some times where I'm going to run a little bit late. Um, Nevertheless, we had a lot of good things happen thus far. I was following up with some of my clients about the stocks that we were talking about. Dividend payouts have been happening. So I can confirm that the monthly dividend payouts happened from the cash stocks that I recommended to you guys, because I received my dividends this month. I also recognize that there are some quarterlies that also paid out this month alongside the monthlies. So you got to have a list of all of the ones that you can invest in, and the price values and everything to that effect. So probably, because we have a massive downturn in the stock market, and we're going to be talking about that a little bit today. And as a result, that downturn has led to lower stock prices. Now that negatively impacts everybody that was holding before the stock plummeted. But for those of us who couldn't afford to get in before, I mean, now's a good time for you to get in. So we're going to be talking about some undervalued stocks, high potential to flourish after the tariffs are lifted from China, once the U.S. has bought TikToks. We're going to be talking about that. And then we're going to be talking about some of the other stuff that has happened in the country thus far. Now, I ran out of time, so I did not have enough time to organize this as linearly as I wanted to. So I'm going to be bouncing back and forth on the information. So forgive me for anything that gets restated a second time over the hour. If that does occur, I don't believe that it will. I'm going to do my due diligence with trying to work through this pretty thick document and make sure that I get you guys all the information that you need to be successful. So just bear with me on that. Also, you guys have the ability to click that link in the comment section, approve to mic, approve to camera, come on to the show in real time. That gives you guys the ability to say what you got to say in person, live on the air. You got to be over the age of 18 to do so. You can also throw your comments into the comment section. I know that in about 20 minutes or so, some of the boys are going to be showing up like clockwork. So I look forward to that. Like I said, it was well right today. So I actually don't have any announcements to give you guys, because all of the sudden changes that happened led to what today's show is about. So we're just going to go ahead and dive into today's show, because today's show is pretty thick and I do got about 2 hours and 20 minutes to give it to you. But before I get started, I want a special shout out to Twitch and or Twitter for those of you that are watching us on the other channels, because you guys also can throw your comments into the comment section as well. Got my special shout outs to my homies going across the top of the screen there, so you can see that. Everybody who's anybody. And now welcome to the topic of the day, as we are going to deep dive into one of the most fascinating, controversial intersections of politics, finance, and power in modern history. So since we're going to be talking about the two titans, Elon Musk and Donald Trump, yet again, and how they are influencing the U.S. economy by wielding control over billions in taxpayers' dollars, from tariffs to government contracts, where their actions have far-reach consequences for industries that we wasn't even expecting, certain markets, and even the everyday Americans that are going to be heavily impacted by the short-term changes that are going about. And we've been talking about a lot of those changes over the past few weeks, actually over the past couple of months. Some of the things that we're going to be focusing on is how much money taxpayers are going to have to pay, how much are these guys going to be controlling, and what are the economic, societal implications of this influence, and are these decisions driving the innovation or fostering inequality and potentially dealing with some corruption? Because you got some people that have been making those accusations that Donald Trump and Elon Musk are running some type of corrupt governmental scheme. I can only put my money in places where my money makes money for me. But you got a lot of people like the hands-off people. We're going to be talking about them a little later today, where they're protesting the rollbacks on Social Security. where they're doing away with the Social Security fraud. Well, I mean, if you're doing away with Social Security fraud, then there's more money for Social Security, isn't there? So people who are not supposed to be getting the money stop getting the money. There's more money there for people who are supposed to get the money. It's either that or do away with the program because there isn't enough money. People don't think about that part. However, Donald Trump's influence is going to be imposed sweeping tariffs under the International Emergency Economy Powers Act, the IEEPA, that is including a 10% baseline tariff on all imports and additional tariffs of up to 54% on Chinese goods. And we're going to be talking about that in just a second, where we're also looking at how Donald Trump's properties have received over $400 million in tax subsidies since his presidency, and his administration has funneled billions in governmental contracts to allies and businesses tied to his policies. Now, let's go ahead and talk about real quick what's going on with the taxation and tariffs, because not a lot of people, well, we talked about the tariffs, but we didn't really talk about the tariffs. So where are we at right now? No, that's about Elon Musk. We need to go down. That's why I told you guys I didn't have everything as organized as I would have wanted. But we're going to pick these things apart. Now, we have industries that are hurt by the tariffs, which are retailers. Oh, hold on. Let me go back up a little bit further, because I'm sitting over here thinking about the fact that I went through a list and I actually found every country that, or at least as many of them as I could find, that received tariffs from the United States. So we want to talk about that real quick before we talk about some of this other stuff. That is in here. We go. I told y'all it's all over the place today, and that's the hands-off thing. All right, so as of April 2025, the United States has implemented a complex tariff structure under President Donald Trump's administration. This is what you guys needed to hear. The tariffs are applied across all imports with the baseline of 10%, as I just mentioned to you, globally, and additional reciprocal tariffs targeting specific countries based on trade deficits or perceived unfair trade practices. So certain countries face higher tariffs because we have some ranging from 11 to 50% based on their trade practices and trade deficit with the US. Now, these tariffs had begun on April 9th, 2025. So the list of countries that were impacted first is what we were just talking about, China, that has a total of 54%, where they have 34% reciprocal tariffs in addition to the 20% pre-existing tariffs. European Union now has 20% tax. Vietnam has 46%. Cambodia has 49%. Bangladesh has 37%. India 27%. Japan 24%. South Korea 26%. China and Mexico both have a pre-existing 25% that started in February. The essential goods that are impacted are all over the place. Special shout out to all the countries all over the place that are loving what we do. The essential goods that are impacted for the low income families, this is going to be heavy for those that are depending on Chinese imports like electronics, children's toys, and apparel. Now, the combination of the 54% tariffs and the 20% tariffs will sharply increase the price for these items. Apparel is projected to rise. Clothing is expected to go up 17%. Footwear is expected to go up 18%. Electronics is expected to go up 10% because of the tariffs. Now, the disposable income loss that low-income housings are going to experience would be about 4% of after-tax income due to cumulative tariffs, 3 times more than the higher earners. Now, textiles and footwear, uh, where the countries that are major suppliers of low-cost clothing and shoes will experience the same price for things like basic t-shirts as well as sneakers. Vietnam is going to be dealing with the supplies for seafood and rice, while Cambodia exports more textiles. So even though you're probably going to see 17% increase on your Fruit of the Loom underwear and 18% on your Reeboks and your Nikes and whatnot, you have to understand that we're looking at 4 to 10% on other apparel from Cambodia and stuff. So you have key sources of affordable fast fashion where tariffs will exacerbate price hikes in that style of clothing as well, straining budgets for families already spending 82% of income on necessities. They have dairy and processed foods where higher tariffs on the EU, cheese, chocolate, and meats may marginally affect grocery costs, though these are less critical for low-income households compared to Asian imports. It is still going to be a factor. Indian textiles and generic pharmaceuticals face higher costs, impacting affordable clothing and medicine. And Japan and South Korean tariffs on electronics and auto parts could indirectly raise repair costs for used cars and a critical asset for low wage workers. Higher costs for products such as avocados and auto parts may trickle down to grocery bills and vehicles maintenance, and disproportionately affecting families with limited savings. Now, the tariffs function as a consumption tax, costing low-income families $1,700 to $3,800 annually versus $9,500 for high earners, but consuming a far larger share of their income. Tariffs compound existing inflation, pushing overall prices to increase to 9.5% and shrinking real wages. Uh, Regulatory tariffs and supply chain distribution threatened industries like retail and agriculture, where low income workers are concentrated, are going to be some of the places that's going to see the most impact. The no tax on overtime proposal, which aims to exempt overtime pay from federal income taxes, offers potential benefits for low income families, but is unlikely to fully offset the financial strain caused by the tariffs. By exempting overtime pay from federal income taxes, workers who rely on overtime could see a modest increase in disposable income. For example, a worker earning 15 hours per day and working 10 hours of overtime per week could save approximately $30 to $50 per week in federal taxes. And depending on their tax bracket over a year, this could be an amount close to $1,500 to $2,600 in addition to take-home pay. For families spending $5,000 annually on the items that are being tariffed, that could add $500 to $1,000 of cost, where the savings from the no tax on overtime proposal may partially offset uh, the tariffs, but not eliminate the burden entirely. Now, the implementation of tariffs in 2025, April 2025, triggered significant volatility and declines in the U.S. stock market, with repercussions expected to extend into Q2 and Q3. Now, the S&P 500 plunged 10.5% in the first 2 days post tariffs announcement, erasing $5 trillion in market value. Its worst 2-day drop since March of 2020. The Dow Jones industrial average entered corrections territory where it's down greater than 10%, while the NASDAQ fell into a bear market down greater than 20% from December of 2024 peaks. Tech and import dependent firms like Apple are down 16% over 2 days. Nike is down 14%. Amazon is down 9%. And they're suffering heavy losses due to reliance on global supply chains. Volatility surge from the Kobe Volatility Index spiked to 60, its highest since August of 2024, reflecting extreme investor anxiety. And you're looking at China imposing a 34% tariff on U.S. goods, while the EU, Japan, and others signaled potential retaliations to those tariffs as well. Now, this escalation heightened fears of a global trade war and stagflation, raising prices plus stagnant growth, where we should see an economic slowdown that could risk a full-on recession. Now, analysts at JP Morgan estimate a 60% chance of a U.S. and global recession in 2025 if the tariffs persist, but the tariffs could add $660 billion annually in consumer costs, raising inflation by 2% and stifling the GDP. UBS reserves its S&P 500 year-end target from 6,400 to 5,800, citing recession risks. You're looking at the investors took off to safety, where money is shifting from equities to bonds and cash, with the US dollar weakening despite tariffs typically strengthening it. And that is a sign of long-term growth concerns, where there is an extreme fear as opposed to what we understand. There's an extreme fear stated by CNN, where the fear and greed index hit yearly lows, with traders anticipating prolonged volatility. Companies reliant on imports, such as retailers and automakers, are facing marginal compression from higher input costs, where tech firms like Apple, which manufacture in China and Vietnam, are particularly vulnerable to supply chain distribution. Small cap stocks, such as the Russell 2000, entered a bear market, reflecting pessimism about domestic growth. And then you have more policy concerns, like the Federal Reserve Chair Jerome Powell warning that tariffs could keep inflation elevated, complicating rate cut plans, making now prices into a 25% chance of a rate hike by late Q3, which is like June, July, August. The White House has not signaled a rollback, but negotiations with Vietnam and others hit a potential exception. Now, the bear market risks of the tariffs remain through Q3, so the S&P 500 couldn't test the 4,500 with specifics within specific sectors. So you're looking at a loss of 25% from the peak, and you're looking at the analyzation of the statistics showing underperformance of the stock market. Now, these are going to lead to some recession triggers, where a sustained U.S.-Chinese trade war could reduce the global GDP growth by 1.5% in 2025, per IMF's estimates, deepening equality, selling off all of the other assets that they have. Now, that is a lot of information to take in. But there is a 90-day halt on bilateral deals that could stabilize the market, which we're looking at some rumors about that. But there's also a strong Q2 corporate result that might offset tariffs fears, but most firms have already downgraded the 2025 guidance. So the tariffs have ignited a severe market correlation or correction in the Q2 2025, with recession risks likely to dominate Q3, where we're walking into hell and damnation. Now, investors should brace themselves for continued volatility, where sector-specific pain and potential policy shifts are going to cause a change in your money making. Now, we had tactical rallies that occur and sustained recovery depending on the effectiveness of tariff rollbacks and signs of economic adaptation. Now, on April 7, 2025, an appeals court ruled that Elon Musk's Department of Government Efficiency team could temporarily access sensitive government data to streamline operations and identify inefficiencies within federal agencies. Now, this access is intended to enhance transparency and efficiency, but has raised concerns about data security and potential nuances. Elon Musk apparently was hanging out with some guys that were running a political campaign, and some people thought that Elon Musk was running something. That's not the case. He was heavily involved in campaigning for Brad Schwitzmel, and the conversation candidate in the Washington Supreme Court election held on April 1st had Musk's trying to aid somebody with a significant due to his financial contributions and public campaigning efforts, which made the election a national face point. Now let the fans tell it. They're like, nah, man, these billionaires came in here, try to use their money and walk all over our voting rights. Well, we told y'all that something like that could happen back in September. Now, Musk invested over $21 million to support Schwitzmel and his campaign, making the race the most expensive judicial election in the U.S. history, where his goal was to help conservative regions and majority on the Wisconsin Supreme Court, which could influence rulings on key issues like abortion rights, labor laws, and election requirements. Holy smack. Now, Musk was traveling to Wisconsin and held rallies to energize voters at a Green Bay event, and he distributed $1 million in checks to 2 voters and offered financial incentives for voters' turnouts. He framed the election as critical for the future of civilization, emphasizing its potential impacts on congressional redistricting and Republican control of the U.S. House. Now, I don't know why I didn't write that as reconstructing, but it's redistricting. All right. Now, the outcome of this is going to be, despite Elon's efforts, librarian candidates Sue Crawford decisively defeated Schwitzmel, preserving a 4-3 liberal major on the court. Wow. See, when I tell y'all that I get y'all some information, I done got y'all all kind of information. Now, Democrats, I see two comments popping up in there. I see two of them coming up in there. Look at this. He said, good evening, the suit. I'm going to talk about that suit in a second. Special shout out. We're doing an elevation protocol today. Dayside was the first person to dive in today. I was Woo. He's telling me that I got my game is fire. I really appreciate that. Matter of fact, I'm gonna let this run, and I'm gonna grab some crackers so that I could. He said he got to step up his suit game. I just put on a different suit every day. I just gotta do. This is like my whole wardrobe. I'm gonna grab me some crackers. I'll be right back. All right, we're back. So, oh, that was a good part to jump in at. I had to grab me some Ritz crackers here. Be a special shout out to those Ritz crackers because, you know, getting burned out, starting to get fatigued here. I only went through some of the information. Oh, I'm loving it too. I'm loving it. Like I told you guys, I got to take time out of my week one day. Hopefully this month, maybe next month, because I got a lot of things I'm trying to catch up on. Caught up on a lot of stuff today, but burned out in doing so. And I still got a lot more stuff to do. I just got to space it out, find time for myself. Work-life balance, I have not done because I'm on a 80% expansion drive. So I'm putting a lot of effort into improvement and growth and not a lot of time into vacations. Now, I was wearing myself out trying to tell you guys about what was going on with Elon Musk and his rally in Wisconsin. I even got a text message over this nonsense where Democratic parties were sending text messages out trying to encourage people to, oh yeah, it's burn on 18 hours a day, 6 days a week, and 10 hours a day on the day off. That way I'm working every day. I do get more sleep on my days off. Thursdays are my days off. I get more sleep on my days off. All the rest of the days is like 4 to 6 hours. Now, the Democrats, because they had this rally, the hands-off thing, and I wanted to talk about that because they were out there protesting all over the place. They had TikTok videos where people saying, don't go out there, don't go out there. People went out there. There was protesting all over the country. From what I hear, they're protesting all over the world because Elon Musk had spent $21 million on this guy's political campaign. Guy still lost. The Democrats used Musk's involvement in a rallying point to accuse him of trying to buy the election. He actually gave $1 million to the $1 million check to two people. I thought that was interesting. And this helped mobilize debate. I'm sitting over here thinking, like, I wish I was out there when he was like, I'll give you $1 million. Shh, I'll take it. He was giving it to Democratic voters, so I would have been sucked right into that. Wouldn't have changed my voting because, I mean, I vote in Florida. But I mean, if I could vote against abortion, I would. So, you don't need me to be a Republican to align myself with stuff that makes sense. You have to know what the policies are. Nevertheless, we had a lot of stuff going on here. Because oh yeah, we already covered all that stuff. So now we got to go all the way back up. That's why I told you guys we were all over the place with our information for today. It was like 60 pages worth of stuff. And I could not organize it because I ran out of time. And then when I looked at the clock, I was like, dang, I'm almost 30 minutes late for the show. I have to start the show. So I had to get in here and start running it. But I had my important stuff that I wanted to talk to you guys about mid-show at the bottom because I had yet to fit it in, and then the stuff that I was going to talk about along the way throughout. Now, getting back to the second step, we all the way back up to the top. Elon Musk, as a head of the Department of Government and Efficiency, has slashed federal spending by cutting over 100,000 more federal jobs, closing agencies, and reallocating resources. Now, his SpaceX situation has received over $20 billion in federal contracts, including $560 million in quarter 2025, quarter one of 2025 alone. Donald Trump's companies received a lot of money too. Now, Musk's companies benefit from government programs like the $42 billion rural broadband initiative through Starlink. Transparency concerns, and I told you guys that back in January, that, the billionaires get together and they dive into something that's going to make everybody money. Everybody that's got money is going to come together so that everybody can put their money up on the table so that everybody's making money at the same time. And this is a situation that the rest of us don't think about doing. We'll see somebody with a good idea and we don't want to mess with them because we don't like them. They rubbed us the wrong way one day. They said something disrespectful to us one day. Rich people, they could hate each other's guts. There's money on the table. We friends until this deal is over. We can do a truce so we can get paid. And if we get paid enough, I'll stop hating your guts. That's how that works. But it's not, it's the rest of us don't think that way. So when Elon is part of the unofficial portion of the Trump administration, all of Elon's companies are like prime picks for government contracts. All of Trump's companies are prime picks for government contracts. When people were pissed off at Joe Biden because his son's company was prime picks for government contracts, they were trying to impeach Joe Biden for the exact same thing that's happening right now. And I'm sitting over here thinking like, wait. That was Joe Biden's son's company that he was a partner in because he was helping his son start up the company. Donald Trump is exclusively over his company. Elon Musk is exclusively over his company. What you mean? Now, Doge is supposed to be operating with limited oversight. They're refusing to respond to Freedom of Information Act requests. Well, you can't. They're going to do whatever they're going to do, and then they're going to tell you where the money went. Critics are arguing that Elon Musk has a dual role as a government advisor and a CEO of SpaceX, creating conflicts of interest. And real quick, in Wisconsin, Elon Musk actually admitted, because I told you guys about it. I did the research on it, and I told you guys about it back in February. And Elon Musk actually admitted that Dogecoin is not affiliated with the anagram of Doge from the Department of Government Efficiency. But I did tell you that because they have the same name or the same representation, that the actions and efforts of the Doge coin is going to streamline the value of the coin, the same way Donald Trump's coin, the Trump coin, for people who are Trump enthusiasts and willing to invest in cryptocurrency, will buy into Donald Trump's cryptocurrency because they're a fan of his work. Now, there are some accusations of examples for potential abuse, where Trump's executive orders benefiting his businesses directly or indirectly through policy changes, Musk's ability to influence regulatory agencies like the FAA and the SEC while securing lucrative contracts for his companies. You also got to understand, he's coming out of the box with AI vehicles. And while he's coming out of the box with AI vehicles, he's at the top of the ladder with policymakers that are talking about autonomous driving. So don't you think he's going to be able to convince a few people? He already got it passed, where in some areas he can ride that wave with no windshield wiper on the car. He already gone down that path. So it is a thing where I seen somebody look at, they popped into the green room, but pop back out real quick. It is a thing where just like with Michelle Obama being at the top of the social justice reform, once she goes back to her regular post, you know, she was the boss at one point. She could make changes. Then when she goes back to the bottom or in the middle, wherever she was, changes are already made. So all she's got to do now is just enjoy her position. Same thing with these two guys. They're at the top. They can change things so that they can make themselves more money towards the back end. And I said before, it's a I scratch your back now so I can get paid a lot of money later deal. I'm benefiting from helping you, and you're benefiting from me helping you. So at the end of the day, let's get this done. Now, there's impacts on the democracy. The concern that critics are saying is that there's a concentration of power in two individuals that are undermining diversity in the decision making. They're talking about the risk of grand corruption, where public institutions are co-opted for private gain. I mean, Wells Fargo is already taking the U.S. Post Office and privatizing it. When it stops being a government entity, the U.S. Post Office is going to be garbage. If you're not already dissatisfied with the post office, start ordering everything through FedEx. There are going to be some benefits in a lot of industries because of their policies. In the renewable energy market, Musk has a lot of investments in Tesla, SpaceX, Drive, innovation, and EVs as space exploration. In real estate, Donald Trump has properties that thrive on tax incentives and subsidies. And the industries that are hurting by the tariffs, as I've explained to you guys before, is retailers relying on imports. They're facing rising costs due to the tariffs as high as 54% on Chinese goods, leading to price hikes on essentials like Fruit of the Loom clothing, like t-shirts and undershirts and stuff like that, going as high as 17%, electronics going as high as 10%, and automakers that'll also be suffering from increased costs from imported components, impacting low-income families who rely on affordable use cars. If you bought a foreign used car and now you need parts for that car, and those parts have to be shipped in from out of the country, you're going to be paying higher prices for repairs. You buy a domestic vehicle, though, not so much. As Donald Trump said, oh, yeah, the tariffs is going to convince everybody to buy more domestic. Now, if Dodge and Ford don't blow up because of this, I don't know what to say. Because every American-made car dealership, what is it? Chrysler, GMC, Lincoln, Jeep, Liberty, they should be getting a lot of business right now. Because if they're majority American-made, they should be cheaper vehicles. We already know that Tesla is expensive as fuck. $30,000 extra dollars in comparison to a brand new gas powered vehicle. Because a Tesla runs as much as $50,000 on the cheap side of things. Whereas you can get you like a Honda Accord or something like that for $20,000. So $30,000 more, you get you a Tesla. Now, this was a crazy thing. The stock market fell out just recently, right at the beginning of Q2. It was a meltdown, a financial meltdown. This was triggered by the tariffs. Wiped out about $5 trillion in value from the stock market within 2 days. With tech giants like Tesla, that was a 15% loss, which was among the hardest hitters. Anybody who was investing in Tesla at the beginning of Q2. Insurance is more money for electric vehicles. Not really. They don't even want to insure them bad boys. If they insure it, it's going to be expensive. But after that fire in Florida in September, they don't even want to. They're dropping the coverage on people with electric cars, especially in flood zones. That's what I told you guys before. Before you go to the store and spend all that extra money on that electric car for status, call your insurance company and find out if they will cover that car. Then find out what the premiums would be on that car, because you got to determine if they will cover the car. And then you got to determine if you want to pay the insurance if they did cover the car, because they might charge you like $600 a month to insure the car because it's a potential set on fire at the house kind of thing. They didn't do that with the cell phones. That woman's cell phone caught on fire in her purse and blew up. We still paying $25 a month for phone insurance. $18 for some people, $10 for others. But see, a car, that lithium ion battery that could catch on fire, that could blow up. It's like a radioactive explosion. It just hasn't happened yet. And it could literally just go boom, like you seen them scooters in Florida that blew up with riders on them. Exactly what could happen with those electric cars. I was against getting electric cars for a long period of time because at the prototype era, they were more volatile and they were more likely to blow up. And it's not one of those situations where, you know, it just shorts out. It's a little bit of smoke. You're coughing, you're choking, you get out, you survive. I'm talking about like Paul Walker times 10 kind of boom. And it doesn't really require much of you screwed up. It's just like wrong place, wrong time kind of situation. Like driving through a puddle of water, salt water especially, erosion, and that's the last day that you and then because that's a battery power outside of the potential explosion, especially when you're dealing with high waters, you have the potential for electrocution because it's a completely electrical power source. I'm not trying to have all that. I was okay with the Cybertruck not because it looked good, but because it had that higher ride height and the average flood areas in America, the battery pack will still be above flood level where you're driving through. That made sense. But the cars, no, that don't make no sense at all. The cars don't have ride height. Some of them cars might get stuck on a speed bump. They're so low to the ground. So if there's a 4 or 5 inches of water, yeah, them cars are flooded. Interior, your socks are wet. 6 inches of water, you got water up to your knees in the car. Got to think about what we're putting our money towards. Now, they got some projections for Q3 suggesting that there's continued volatility unless the trade tension ends. And as I told you guys a couple days ago, as of the 5th, that Trump was extending the tariffs until June. So the tariffs are not going to end inside of Q3. Beginning of Q4, middle of Q4, because it's 75-day extension from the 5th, which is going to put you out to about June 20th. So middle of June, third week of June, technically, if the tariffs, if China sells or Beijing sells ByteDance or sells TikTok through ByteDance, then we will see the tariffs come down from China, where he might take 20% off of China's 54%, which will reduce the tariffs by a lot. He might even take the 34% off and leave the 20%, which would reduce the tariffs on China by a lot. And then in July and August, we'll start seeing that decline in the tariffs and the inflation of the products from China, which then we will start seeing the increase in products. So right now I'm like, buy. That's what I've been telling you guys. As much of your favorite stocks as you want to buy into them on their way down, so that when they start going back up, we're in April right now. June is 2 months away. You're going to start seeing the money come back on you in July. So that gives you 3 months to put as much money as you can into the stocks before the stocks start going back up. He said, I heard that OnlyFans was also interested in buying TikTok. I didn't hear that, bro. I'm going to have to check into that. Real quick, though, this guy just jumped in. Inappropriate name. So, Baggins, I'm going to give you a special shout out, but I can't leave you on a... His name pops up on the screen right when we start talking about OnlyFans, so it was convenient. Feel free to hang out with us and give us appropriate comments about the topic of discussion. I'm going to try to put your name up when you put up appropriate comments. It ain't going to linger up there for a while, though, because I still have to bypass community guidelines, you know what I'm saying? This is the elevation protocol. Yeah, I'm saying. So you're telling me, is OnlyFans interested in purchasing TikTok? I did not hear that, but I got to find out. So I'm a see what I can see what I can find right now. So Tim Stokely, who is the founder of OnlyFans, has made a bid to acquire TikTok's U.S. operations. The bid is not directly tied to OnlyFans, but because this is one of Stokely's new ventures, something about Zoop. Zoop is a social media platform that focuses on creator engagement and revenue sharing, and has partnered with Habar Foundation, a blockchain organization, to make the offer. So this move comes as TikTok's parent company ByteDance is facing extreme pressure from the U.S. authorities to sell its U.S. operations due to national security. So Stokely's bid is part of the broader competition involving other major players like Amazon, Oracle, private equity firms. Zoop has framed its proposal as an opportunity to create a creator-first platform that benefits both creators and their communities. I would like to see that, because I have yet to be on a creator-friendly platform that's paying out startup content creators. So this development highlights how various companies and entrepreneurs are vying for control of TikTok amidst its uncertain future in the US. So it is true that OnlyFans is looking at but hey, wait, didn't Trump said that he was going to be going after the adult industry? I want to see what happened with that, because I haven't heard anything about that yet. And I was under the impression, because OnlyFans only has a bad reputation from the handful of females that are using it in a non-appropriate fashion, because it is supposed to be for like content creators, artists, musicians, stuff like that. The women are like, oh yeah, it's an art. Like Winona Ryder shooting ping pongs out her hoo-ha dilly. It's an art. So far, Donald Trump has not committed to the ban of the online pornography as of yet, even though that's what he stated during his campaign trail. But that traction is gaining with some of his allies and conservative groups, particularly through that Project 2025 initiative, where the initiative spearheaded the Heritage Fund that outlines a vision for a potential second Trump administration, and includes the proposal to criminalize pornography. So the plan advocated for banning porn, imprisoning its producers and distributors, and shutting down tech companies that facilitate its spread. It also calls for a labeling educators and librarians who distribute such materials as sex offenders. I was like, ooh. So I was waiting on that to happen. Because when that happens, like, OnlyFans is getting shut down. Now, while Trump has distanced himself from some aspects of Project 2025, he has a history of supporting anti-pornography measures. So in 2026, he signed a pledge to address the public health impact of internet pornography, but did not follow through on these promises during his presidency. His allies have recently pushed for stricter regulations on adult content, including state level age verification laws, that if anybody has ever tried to jump onto the hubs, the major hub typically puts a notice up every now and again that lets everybody know that there's going to start doing some age verification things eventually. And they're blocking access to certain states that demand the age verification law thing. And that has already led platforms like the hub that I'm talking to block access to certain states. Wow. So I cover the spread as soon as I cover the spread. Implementing a nationwide ban on pornography while this would face significant legal and constitutional challenges, where the U.S. Supreme Court in 1973, Miller versus California, ruled established that sexual content is protected under the First Amendment unless deemed obscene by specific criteria. Overturning this precedent would require substantial judicial and legislative action. Despite these hurdles, proponents of Project 2025 remain optimistic about leveraging new laws and technologies to restrict access to the adult content on a broader scale. So if that doesn't give you guys some what's going to happen, he said, see, I told you about OF about to get spicy. Well, TikTok is about to get spicy if OF is going to merge with TikTok. We already got a bunch of videos. Like if you're scrolling through your For You page, every now and again, there is a random pop-up, inappropriate content. It's already up there on TikTok. It don't stay there very long, but I mean, if OF owns it, then yeah, it's probably going to be there. It's probably going to be a whole section just for adult content. You probably have to click a hashtag OF fan and take you to all their content. It's wild, but whatever people can do to get it, because back when we was kids, our parents used to order the magazine. We didn't want to pay for it. We would just steal the magazine from parents. Then DVDs came out. Well, VHS tapes came out first. And when VHS tapes came out, we would just go steal the VHS tape. Then DVDs came out. Then we would just go steal the DVD. Then they did oh yeah, we got a triple diamond platinum package also. We just don't offer anything nasty with it. It's in the membership. But it's crazy. It's crazy. So once everything started being online, then it was like, oh, we just watch it for free. So now we don't got to steal it from our parents anymore. Now that we can watch it for free, as long as it's online for free, they'll watch the commercials, they'll whatever they got to go through so that they can get to the video. They'll get malware on their laptops, on their computers, on their cell phones, whatever, just so that they can get to that adult content. And then the president's going to say, well, we'll put a stop to that by putting the creators of the content in jail. Now, you know what the problem with that is for those individuals that are in the industry. Now, remember, we were sitting over here talking about how your decision-making process has negative implications for your future, and how like women are like, oh, it's still a job. It's still a job. Yeah. But if they say that the creator of the content will now be incarcerated for the creation of the content, how can you take 10 or 15 years of adult content off the internet? Like if you can think about some famous like stars in that industry and think about how their videos are still circulating the internet right now, even though they're retired, and their video out there as the creator of the video, they get locked up. You know how many, the jail cell is going to be fire. It's going to be almost as hot as when OJ was doing his sitcom after he had killed Nicole Simpson. It's going to be crazy because you're going to have nothing but porn stars in there. All the wardens are going to be up a creek because all the guards are going to be getting fired for having affairs with the inmates, because you're going to have the men and the women in there, not just the women, because the creator, those two people on the camera that was creating the documents, the cameraman's going down, the producer, the director, the sound guy. They might even go and grab the fluffer. You might see somebody sitting there in an orange jumpsuit. I was just a cleanup guy. You were there. You were an accomplice. But things are going to change. He hasn't gotten there yet, but he said he was going to do it. So while he's trying to he's focusing on money right now. So while he's focusing on money, his decisions are not really in that direction. But he's got 4 years to pick his boot up and shove it into the adult contents orifices. And when it happens, like, it's going to be a massive change in the country. You're going to have a lot more foot patrol. You're going to have a lot more girls out there on the street. The guys aren't going to be able to do it as much on the street because not too many women want to pay a guy, but all the men have no problem with paying girls. So, the guys will go broke. The girls would just have to put themselves in more danger to get out there and get on the street and make it happen. Boots to the ground. But I mean, once it hits NASDAQ, though, you see the billionaires, everybody's chasing TikTok. Therefore, the day that TikTok is put on the stock market, whether it is a dividend paying stock or not, odds are it's going to be under $20 a share. I don't care how many shares the billionaires buy. You make sure that you go buy some. If you got to buy like 10 of them, 20 of them, if that's all you can afford, you make sure that you buy you some TikTok shares. Because just like when Facebook blew up, TikTok will blow up. And when it blows up, whoever's got $1 in that bad boy is going to have a lot. They're going to have a lot. They're going to have a lot. So I'm strongly encouraging y'all to put y'all money in areas where, I mean, this is going to be a massive undertaking. Just like when Apple got recognized as Macintosh. Back in the day when it was just a little apple with the bite taken out of it, with the little worm sticking out of it, and it was just a computer in the school with a little floppy disk that you had to wiggle around before you stuck it into the thing and make it work, kind of situation. Back in the day when you could only play Lemonade Tycoon on it, when Apple had very little purpose. Now it's one of the most expensive computers in the world. Now you've got TikTok, where the United States government is starting tariff wars to gain ownership of this company. If you don't take that hint, because he said it's worth trillions. So if you buy a few $100s of it, you might have thousands. If you can buy a few thousand, you might have hundreds of thousands. And I mean, get your foot in the door. As soon as it hits the market, you want to get in there and start buying. But it's going to blow up fast. And if OnlyFans is going to be in there, you already know that there's going to be a large quantity of subscribers. I might have to start producing from TikTok again so that I can get some subscribers. Now check this out. The tariffs are having a regressive tax, and low-income households, I told you guys this before, but low-income households have a larger share of the spending income that is essentially impacted by the tariffs. So the discretionary funds of low-income housing is significant. Now, I mentioned to you guys a little bit earlier in the night show where they're losing between $1,700 and $3,800 annually compared to the $9,500 of the higher earners. But the higher earners got that money to spend. Statistically, this part I didn't tell you guys about. Potentially, that no tax on overtime proposal ain't really going to help you that much, because workers are saving $1,500 to $2,600 annually, and this is going to fail to offset the tariffs price increases for most families. This is specifically because those individuals that spending $5,000 or more on tariffed items, you're only getting $1,500 to $2,600 more discretionary funds from untaxed overtime if you're getting guaranteed 10 hours or more worth of overtime on a weekly basis, which means you're still in the hole like $2,400 a year of additional taxation. Or as according to this most recent one with the 3,800 annual increase, you're still like 1,200 in a hole on the low end. That's if you're not buying name brand stuff, because it's even bigger, because a 17% tax is a 17% tax, whether it's a $50 item or a $300 item. Think about that when you're going to buy your next pair of Jordans. We have some broader economic risks. Since the rise of inflation is an additional 2% as of Q2, coupled with the stagnant wage exacerbations with financial strain for vulnerable populations, using a real world example that you guys can understand from Trump's subsidies and Musk's government contracts, attendees will map out how tax dollars flow through their ventures, where we have to determine, are these funds being used effectively for public benefit? Most of the lower income individuals do not experience public benefit because all of the government funds have been retracted mostly. It's harder to get on welfare. It is if you're on welfare, some people's benefits are being redacted. You have the people that are getting veterans benefits. They got that increase, which brought them up to an extra, I think, $50 to $75 a person or whatever, which isn't a lot. And when you think about how their veterans benefits plus their unemployment or Social Security disability could potentially put them at the top half of the poverty line, where the poverty line is at 30,000, they're at like 25,000 with all funding from the government, veterans benefits and Social Security disability benefits. Now, these aren't the veterans that went out there and did like 30 years and drew back like salary-based retirement funds where they're getting like $10,000 a month kind of thing. But the average individual that went out and did at least one tour, came back, and now they're retired and potentially injured and unable to work, those individuals not really getting that much, which is why you see a lot of veterans on the roadside. Because if 3 times the rent requires, with the rent being as much as $1,000 for a 1-bedroom these days in certain areas, 3 times the rent requires you to make $3,000. Well, if all of your government benefits are giving you $2,000, how do you cover that? You really can't. You're short. You're going to need to find another veteran to be your roommate. Now, a lot of the protesting, because the LGBTQ community was out there protesting with the hands-off Social Security, and I mean, they voted for him, so I don't know why they're protesting now. He said he was going after them. I read to you guys the 950-page document about the Project 2025, so I don't understand why anybody who wants a show who didn't agree with it voted in the direction of Project 2025. But I'm just like, well, it's there. The document is still accessible. Most people can actually just Google Project 2025 and the PDF is there for download, and you can read everything they said they were going to do. He's taking small steps against the LGBTQ community, and I'm going to call them small steps. People are going to say, oh, that's a major impact. No, that was only the T. He still got to go after the L, the B, the G. He's still got to take shots at the Q. He only went after the T so far. This is small steps. There's only the small steps. So everybody else is still at risk, but he said that he was going after everybody. And voters remorse is like buyer's remorse. You knew that you couldn't afford this shit, but you went and did it anyway. You knew this was not going to positively impact you at all, but you went and did this shit anyway. Everybody told you this was a bad idea if your best interest contradicted the outcome, and you went and did it anyway. I'm not going to call it remorse. I'm going to say that's a stupid decision. Any decision that anybody makes for any reason that specifically contradicts their ability to be successful in their life, and then after they recognize that this action will contradict their success in their life, they're going to perform it anyway, and then be upset of the outcome when the outcome is intended to not be beneficiary if they perform this action. Bro, I have no remorse for the decision-making process, because had it been that the 15% of LGBTQ community that takes up the population of the United States was all voted for Kamala Harris, then I could say, you know what? Hey, they got the short end of the stick. If I could say that he only won by 50% plus one vote, where all of the women voted for Hillary Clinton, or not Hillary Clinton, Kamala Harris, then I could say, well, they got the short end of the stick. If Kamala Harris would have gotten 70% of the popular vote and Donald Trump would have still got it voted in, then I could have said, well, we got it because the electoral votes would have got him in. Then I would have said, well, you know, we got the short end of the stick. But Trump got the popular vote, more than 70% of the population. He got the unanimous vote, just about, where he had 5 or 7 million people more than Kamala Harris the entire. And I ran a 6-hour show as we watched these polls, and I could tell you, the whole thing, she never caught up. It was never tied. She was down by over 5 million the whole time. When she got a few 100,000, he got a couple million. When she get a million, he'll get another million. And it was the whole time. And the fact is that any women that are disappointed with his decision-making process, they got to be mad at the other women that voted for him, because there's only 49.1% of men in the country. So in order for him to win with 70% or so, then that means that 20% of women had to vote for him too. So if the women are mad about the abortion laws, don't get mad at your boyfriend. Don't get mad at your new date. Don't get mad at your husband. Be mad at the other women that voted for him. Anybody in the LGBTQ community, there are both men and women in there are former men now known as women and former women now known as men in the LGBTQ community. And again, there is inherently 49.1% of naturally born men in this country. And everybody that doesn't consider themselves a naturally born man is part of the other 50.1% of women. That still 20% of y'all voted for the same guy. So you can't say that you're hating on heterosexual people for what's going on. You can't hate the government for what's going on. You need to turn to the other folks in your LGBTQ community that voted for him to put this stuff together. Because if 100% of y'all would have stuck together and voted with the women for Kamala Harris for the $1 million of recession money and abortion rights, Kamala Harris would have been president. Because again, there's only 49% of men. So Kamala Harris wins by default if all of the women and all of the gays vote for Kamala Harris. She would win by default. But because a majority of the women, majority of the men, majority of the LGBTQ community all voted for Trump. This is the choices you guys made. Bayside said he told y'all he was coming for you too. He did. And that's why I went over what he said. He was coming after OnlyFans. He was coming after the adult company, the adult industry. So he ain't did that yet because he's fighting for that $1 trillion. He don't give a fuck about the once he get that $1 trillion, then he might turn over a second leaf and go after the adult community. But he ain't got there yet. But what he looked at is he said, I'm coming to get y'all. I'm going to make America great again, bring it back to conservatism. So since that's what he's doing, he said that every step that he'd make changes. He was about to take funding away from Maine just so that he could take former dudes out of female sports. And the women, I don't understand. They were mad about that. Why can't this person that identifies as a female play in female sports? Well, because when he was born, he had more testosterone than the other females, which means that he's more athletically capable than the females, which means that it's a mismatch. The reason why they have female exclusive sports is because male stature is unfair. Now, just because he paid to change his gender doesn't change the fact that he's overqualified for the female league. Now, that's just logic. That's just logic. Now, the sad part is because he paid for the change, he doesn't qualify for the male league because a locker room is not going to respect him. But the decisions that you make impact your future. So if you're going to pay extra, because the fact is that we're still in a liberal country. You don't have to pay to look like a female to date a dude. You choose to do that. Now, when you choose to do that, and then the society mistreats you as a result, you can't get mad at the society because you made a choice that you knew come November 5th of 2024 was going to be unfavorable for your future. That's just not right. You could have not done the change and just been a guy dating a guy. You still could have played in athletes. You still could join the military. But now that you're post-surgery, your ability to participate is less likely. It's crazy. I understand. I do understand how some people are going to say, oh, well, that's not fair. They should be able to do. We're in a free country, blah, 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 blah. But we're not as free as we think. We have the freedom to say and do all kinds of stuff as long as Karen don't snitch on us. We can do whatever we want to do as long as Karen don't snitch on us. They got so many laws out there that nobody knows every law for every city in every state in every country, in every area of the country. We got so many of them. So the only laws that get enforced are the ones that matter right now. The ones where people are doing too much and they're negatively impacting other people too much. Those are the laws that are readily enforced. All the rest of the laws that still exist, that are still active, that have never been discontinued, that are no longer being enforced, you got the freedom to not do them. But if you look at I bet that anybody who bought the written copy of the laws in every city of their state could find themselves with a wall of law books. Your friends and family would swear to God you went to law school. If you tried to get law books, written copies of the law books from every state that you plan to visit in the next 5 years, you would have a wall of law books, more law books than these books back here. And the sad part is that all of them laws are legit. Half the laws give you the right to do whatever the fuck you want, and the other half of the laws punish you for doing the exact same thing. It depends on which law you use in your case. That determines whether or not you get off on a charge or you got to do some time. And it's crazy. But the fact is that we're not all that free. We're not all that free. Yeah, we can say whatever we want to say. The stuff that I'm saying on the podcast right now, I'm not even monetized. They're not gonna pay me to say what I just said. If I don't have a yellow $sign on my account right now, I'm gonna have a red one on there by morning. They're gonna be like, nope. They just moved the podcast to the restricted zone. We're not even gonna get as many views as we was getting before. They took us off the For You page. I'm just trying to tell you, it's crazy. It's crazy. And reason being is because we're not as free as we think we are. They got CCTV cameras all over the place right now. They're putting more out there. We're gonna have as many cameras, if not more cameras, as what they got out there in South Korea. Everybody's car is gonna have a dash cam on it in the interest of our own personal safety. I'm telling everybody walk around with a body camera on in the interest of your personal safety. Between the CCTV cameras, dash cameras, and personal body cameras on top of law enforcement body cameras, we more hot wired than a federal warrant. Everything on video. So guess what's going to end up happening? Elon Musk is going to make some technology where you guys can put some contacts on that allows you guys to record everything that you see and download it from your brain to a USB drive so that your memories can be stored somewhere so that you can go back and look at them. People are going to be subpoenaing your thought process. I'm telling you, it's going to get to that direction because everything has to be documented right now with the reckless behavior of certain people in certain places. If the stuff doesn't get documented, you're not safe. You're not safe at all. You'll find yourself in a situation that you wasn't expecting yourself to be in. You don't have no witnesses because you travel by yourself. All your friends is on your social media platform. Then when this deal goes south, is your word against like 5 or 6 other people that was trying to oppress you in this situation. And you're not going to win that argument. So if you don't have that video evidence to prove that you didn't do nothing wrong, they will hang you for whatever it is that they're accusing you of. Because you ain't got no proof. You ain't got no witnesses. It almost makes you want to not travel alone. But I mean, most of us feel more comfortable with getting more stuff done by getting out there and doing it by ourselves, as opposed to taking people with us. And I don't blame them. But you got to protect yourself. So yeah, with everything that they got going on right now, bro, it's an investment opportunity. With what you see with them and TikTok, everybody and their great uncle about to get into that. So I'm trying to tell y'all need to get into that too. And y'all need to look into some of these other platforms, but TikTok is the third largest, I do believe, because YouTube is the largest. Twitter was in the top 5, and right above Twitter was TikTok. But I think there's a possibility that TikTok might have passed Twitter. Actually, I can find out for you guys right now with the most used social media platforms. Because last time I checked this, YouTube was at the top. And I know that Twitter was in there. Yep. We have YouTube as number 1 with 3.9 billion. Facebook is in there with 3 billion, right up under YouTube. WhatsApp has 2 billion. I didn't even think about them. Instagram has 2 billion. TikTok has 1.5 billion. This is worldwide, though, not in the United States. This is worldwide. And then, you have others in there like WeChat that has 1.3 billion, Messenger that has 1 billion, Telegram that has 900 million. And if we look at the most used creator platforms, I probably should look that up. In the US this time. Again, still has YouTube at the top with 2 billion creators in their platform. TikTok is the second best in that scenario. Instagram, Medium, Substack. I don't know either of these. Mighty Network, Patreon, Buy Me a Coffee, and emerging. I need to find out where because Twitter is not even on there. And this is some of the issues that people need to think about when they're creating their content. But Podbean, Buzzsprout, Anchor, Libsyn, Transcenter, Red Circle, still not finding Twitter. So I guess the top 5 social media outlets in the US still going to have YouTube up there as the top. Yep. LinkedIn would be the 5th. So that means that Twitter is below, for some reason, LinkedIn, where TikTok has 170 million users, but LinkedIn has 230 million. Yeah. So how many users do we have on Twitter? If you're on Twitter, give me a shout out real quick. 650 million monthly active users, where so they're not that big. Twitter is less involved than most other platforms. What can I say? It started when I was in college, so I guess the youngins are going to take it up, but the 1-minute videos are going to be more popular than the instant messages over a wide social media platform. Because you can put videos and stuff up there now, but I don't see that many people like really blowing it up. But since we're already on, so I said, well, since we got Twitter, we might as well use it. Now, some policy shifts. I want to talk about some policy shifts because the Congress, we're expecting people to complain, and there's this concern about Congress imposing stricter oversight on DOGE, the Department of Government Efficiency, or limit special government employees like Musk from holding dual roles. And we're wondering, could bipartisan pressure from Trump to scale back tariffs or negotiate trade deals be a thing? But we are also understanding that the recession risks has analysts predict a 60% chance of recession by Q3. We're already in a recession, driven by trade wars and market instability, and the opportunities for reform are pretty substantial. Strengthening transparency measures to prevent conflicts of interest in the future is going to be met with the conflicts of interest in the present. Reassessing tax policies to balance economic growth with equity is going to give us a little bit more to do that we originally didn't have. So backing things up, recapping real quick, Trump and Musk wield immense influence over billions in taxpayer dollars, and their policies have far-reaching implications for industries, markets, and everyday Americans. If you guys have any questions, make sure that you guys leave them in the comment sections, and we can definitely talk about finance, politics, specific policies that you guys are interested in. And make sure that you guys recognize that the information that we provided to you today is comprehensive look at how Donald Trump and Elon Musk are reshaping America's economy through their control over the tax dollars. By combining the facts with interactive elements, we would be able to engage with fostering critical discussions about power, accountability, and the future of democracy. Nevertheless, this isn't just an exploration, it's an eye opener into how two individuals hold immense sway over billions in taxpayer money. So don't miss out on the chance to uncover the truth behind the headlines. Make sure that you join in the conversations that impact all of us. And make sure that you take time out of your week, every day of the week, to dive into this world of explicit chaos together. Now, one more thing I want to talk about before we wrap things up, that we had that hands-off thing on April 5th that was nationwide, where protesters took across all 50 states opposing Trump's policies, including cuts to public services and his collaborations with Elon Musk. And these protests were among the largest since Trump returned to office in 2025. So the protesters had targeted Elon Musk and was also their focal point to protest on April 5th due to his role in the government cuts. They were actually at the Tesla centers protesting Elon Musk. So Elon's companies are being negatively impacted by Elon's behavior in the White House. And demonstrators criticized his billionaire status and involvement in federal budget reductions. So, yeah, that drops the hammer on pretty much everything that we had to cover for today. But I can tell you that it was a wild ride. It was a lot more than I had anticipated. And I'm still watching. The stock market is still going down. It is still going down. It is not leveling off right now at the beginning of quarter. But I told you guys, end of quarter one, beginning of quarter two starts going. It's tanking. It's tanking. Somewhere around May starts to level off. Sometime in June starts to look like it's going up. Might have one more slight dip right there by the 4th of July, but then it's going to start going up. And you're going to see one more slight dip again right before school season. Then it's going to start going back up again. And you're going to see one more big drop right after Halloween, right there before Thanksgiving. You're going to see a little bit more come up right before Christmas. You're going to see a dip one more time and then a spike again, because everybody who's anybody is going to put more financial investment into their stock option at the end of quarter four so that they don't got to pay taxes on the money that they made throughout the year. Because at the end of the year, if you spent more than you made, you're not being taxed. So they start selling off all of their shares in quarter one, spending their money in quarter two and quarter three, and then reinvesting while the market is low in quarter two and quarter three. And then they do a little bit of finagling in quarter four, and then they leave their money in there for the end of quarter four. And you'll notice that there's very few stock options that's issuing dividends in December. They're issuing the dividends in November. So you could see yourself potentially getting a dividend payout in December, reinvesting in December before the end of the fiscal year, and you got no profits. Well, likely to have no profits. With that being said, that's the full totality of the chaos for this week. Tomorrow, I have to navigate you guys through some investment opportunities that you could put your money into while we deal with this recession. Letting you guys know about some ex-dividend dates, some payouts and payment options, so that you guys can figure out where you want to put your money. I have at least a dozen different places where I feel comfortable putting my money at, and you guys can also start diving into the precious metals, because the precious metals is a safe place to put your money while the market is crashing. And then when the market has finished crashing, you can relocate your money from those precious minerals or the precious metals, and then put your money into the lowest level of stock options. But as I predicted it in November, December, January, as I told you it was going to happen, exactly what happened. And now everybody else is in a panic, and I'm sitting over here like, it's time to buy in. It's time to buy in. I'm gonna make it rain and let it out. Make it rain. And they're gonna be trying to figure out what they're gonna be doing. But I'm gonna be the only rich person on a podcast that's not gonna have a stack of cash up against my face like a dumbass. I'm just gonna have a nice suit. Bayside said, awesome, I'll be here, brother. Great info as usual. Not a problem. I really appreciate you coming to the show, Bayside. You're always very very informational. And I love the fact that you came and brought me that knowledge about OnlyFans, because I did not know that. And I gotta tell you, it was is they got to really try to make it seem like they rich, because they're gonna take $10,000 worth of ones and stack it up against their head, put it on both sides, make it seem like it's heavy. But what the bastards really should be doing is getting them a Crypto phone, or getting them a Solarian phone, or getting them one of them, because Motorola's coming back with the highly encrypted phone. Get you one of them phones where can't nobody hack into your phone and can't nobody wiretap your phone calls, and have all your currency running through that phone where all your money is digital. And I mean, yeah, you can have a safe in your house hidden in a wall somewhere behind a portrait and some laundry where you got some cash there in case something happens and there's no power. Yeah, you can have your blockchain attached to a scenario where your money is good when the power comes back on, and you got all your passcodes written down like you did when we had Nintendo to pick up our pick up where we left off because there wasn't a safe spot. Yeah, you can do that. Yeah, you can go and convert your cash into gold and silver so that you can put it into that safe. And then when silver, because you should buy more silver than you buy gold, because as the federal governments of other countries buy up all of the accessible gold, ain't nobody giving a shit about silver. So you can buy up all the silver, and then when there's no more gold to go around, everybody's going to be trying to get their hands on some silver. You already got the silver. The silver will have a massive increase over gold, because gold is at $2,000 something an ounce, and silver is at like $20 something an ounce, which is 10% the value of gold. But silver is just as valuable as gold, which means that silver is undervalued because more countries have access to gold until gold stops being accessible. That's when silver is going to skyrocket. So if you have more gold per ounce, buying it at 10% you have more silver per ounce, buying it at 10% the value of gold, when silver surpasses gold, that's when you'll be able to do what you got to do with it. And you can go and get that, put that into a safe, but being on social media, marinating, showing everybody that you got money so that the IRS can audit your ass because they find it's on the news that you got money. You don't want to do that. You don't want to show off what you got. All wealthy people give you advice that sells you. Do you know much about treasuries? We'll talk about treasuries tomorrow as well. With part of investments, we'll be talking about treasuries tomorrow as well. That way you get straight up as soon as you ask the question, and within 48 hours I'm providing you with a response. But yeah, the wealthiest people tell you to tell people that you actually have access to 30% of what you actually have access to. So instead of bragging about being rich, you don't brag about being rich. You accept the fact that people think that you look poor because you're not a target. Then you spend your money in secret the way you want to spend your money. People don't know how much money you got. But if you tell people that you are rich, people are going to be sitting there with their hand out. They're going to guilt trip you, manipulate you, and then treat you poorly if you don't give them extra money because they're poor. But all of y'all grew up poor together. You came out the hood. You stopped being poor. You started making better financial decisions. But because you came back to the hood and told the hood that you're not poor no more, now the hood is going to call you a sellout because you don't want to be a failure your whole life. That's not what we're trying to do. So instead of having naysayers that never wanted to see you succeed come and beg you for a handout now that you're successful, don't never let them know that you succeeded. If they didn't see your success on the internet, since everything is publicized right now, then fuck them. They don't need to know that you succeeded. Not a now nutter will know exactly how much I got going on this podcast, but I can tell you right now that I'm making moves, and I'm telling you guys how to make those same kind of moves so that we can all make ourselves be millionaires together. Now, if we not all millionaires together, I'm traveling the world. Something got to be paying for that, but that's going to be the cost of doing business. I'm going to be investing everywhere that I told y'all to invest in. Money's got to happen in order to do that, because I can't just put food stamps on stock options. It don't work that way. So, you got to figure out, like, if I'm able to talk to you guys about it, show you guys about it, do my research on it, and then tell you the benefits of because I actually got back 18% on all of my investments this month over the past 7 days, 8 days. So I can tell you that all the stocks that I gave y'all a month ago, they work. So, and that was cash dividend stocks. So if y'all don't do it, y'all don't do it. But nobody that I talk to, I don't talk to none of them about how good my podcast is doing. I don't talk to none of them about how much money my podcast pay. I lock up all the money on the podcast, so it gives me money when ain't nobody looking. If it's gonna give me some money, if I got stuff coming on from other places, nobody knows where I'm getting all my money from. Most of my stuff comes from places that nobody even thinks to look. So can't nobody follow what I got going on. And I do that on purpose. The reason why I tell you guys about getting trust and setting up your estate, if you set up a cheap trust, a $200 to $500 trust, that was one of the things we were supposed to be talking about, cheap ways to set up a trust where you guys can get your basic standards invested into this trust so that you can got you a startup trust, because you need layers. You need more than one trust. You need one trust to put all your assets in and invest in stuff. You need another trust to move your assets to, and then you need another trust to have your businesses in. You need another trust to have your assets in. Your cash is in a separate trust than your stuff. Your living trust or beneficiary trust, the one that pays you, is a separate trust than the cash trust and the stock trust. And the holding trust, if you put all your cars in one trust, the cars are not in the same trust as the houses, because if you crash the car, they'll take the houses. So you put all the cars in the same trust. You put all the houses in the same trust. You put all your money into the same trust. You can move money to another trust to do something with, but then the money that the trust is getting is going to be offset by the stuff the trust got to pay for. Some of these trusts is going to move the money somewhere where eventually you're going to have at least 4 trusts to make sure that you ain't being taxed. Because if the money goes into the trust gains a profit, and then you get paid off the profit, that's taxable income as a shareholder, as a beneficiary. But if the money goes into a trust, the trust gains a profit, the profit goes into another trust, that trust pays you from the principal, you're not taxed on it. Because you got from the principal, the trust that you got paid from didn't gain taxes. But that requires you to do a lot more. So learning how to set up the first trust to protect yourself from immediate danger, and then putting yourself into a position where you can start building better trust when you got more money. That way you can do a revocable trust right now, just so that you can get your foot in the door. $250 to $500. Get your revocable trust, run the shit yourself. Learn what you're doing. Whatever you don't like about the revocable trust, you can make changes because it's revocable. But once you're satisfied with the setup, turn it into an irrevocable trust. Then you can move on and do your offshore one, like I keep telling y'all, which that's a business trip. You fly to another country that doesn't tax, set up that second trust to make your first trust the beneficiary. And now all of the resources are going into the second trust, and the second trust is paying the first trust, and the first trust is paying you. And then you build a third trust, and the third trust is paying the second trust, and the second trust is paying the first trust. You build a fourth trust. The fourth trust is switching money back and forth between the third trust. Both of them are putting money into the second trust putting money into the first trust. First trust is paying you. First trust is only getting principal income. Principal income is going to you. That's non-taxable income. That is a pyramid of legal bypassing of taxes. So yeah, we could talk about the treasury in the situation, but the fact is that it's it's hard to get everything situated until we start making more money, make money for us. Basically, I said exactly why make yourself a target, be humble, because a lot of people are so poor, they're poor minded and they're financially poor. And what they do is they want to be praised by their environment. So they will get something flashy so that they can flash it in front of their society so that they can get credibility from their society. It doesn't give them value to their society, but they'll get some, props like, oh, congratulations, you got whatever, whoop de whoop. Oh, did you see what so and so got? Did you hear about how so and so got X, Y, and Z? Be like the talk of the town kind of thing. But the fact is that the only people that's going to be coming to you once they find out that you got stuff is people that's either going to try to take it from you or try to convince you to give it to them. Those people wasn't there when you was walking and riding bicycles and catching bus in the rain. Those people wasn't there when you needed a ride and you ain't had no car. But now that you got brand new cars, now everybody want to ride. Ain't nobody putting gas in your car though. So we got to change the way we do things. Don't let people know how much you got. Billionaires give you billionaire advice, but billionaires, they might tell you this one time in band camp when they made $6 million in a day, but they're not going to tell you how much money they got in their pocket right now. They're not going to tell you how much revenue that they have access to. They're not going to tell you how themselves are accessing or being distributed excessive quantities of capital on a regular basis, because nobody needs to know that. But I do have a company, and that company does generate revenue. That company's not me, though. What do they say? Own nothing, control everything. Bayside says, Xander, I'm trying to keep up, but I have a revocable trust. What's the difference if I make it a non-revocable trust? You can't change it no more. The revocable trust means that you can make changes. You can adjust it. If you don't like the way you set it up, you can change it. If you set it up originally a certain way and now you got to add more stuff to it, like, for example, you might have just set it up just for your the holdings of your properties. Now you want to start adding capital to it. You might want to set it up a different way where adding beneficiaries. You are a beneficiary, but you might want to add more beneficiaries on there. You might want to have stipulations as to how to put those beneficiaries on there. What's going on, Rooterus? I've been keeping up with it this time, man. We're gonna make it through this game this time around. I gotta do it for Rooterus as well, because right. That's a shout out to Rooterus.
This is the elevation protocol. Rising above the chaos, taking control. My values not negotiable, my worth is my law. Surrounding myself with excellence, that's what I saw.
Rooterus came at the right time.
I'm not building walls, I'm building bridges to greatness. Demanding excellence, no time for complacence. Act right or act out, the choice is always clear. My presence is my power, my standards for the line here.
Special shout out to Rudolph. He dove in at the right time. I am stopped this time. Nice BGM. Hey, I do the best I can. Well, you would have been stopped last time. I just ran out of time. I got this really I got this really unorthodox way of how I play, and it is not good for people who play to win. It's good for people who play for fun, but if you're trying to beat me, you're gonna lose a lot. You're gonna lose a lot because I'm kamikaze. You would have did better playing the chess game with me with the nukes on it, because I mean, we're probably gonna be down to like 2 pawns and a king. Oh yeah, it's Suicide Squad, bro. It's Suicide Squad. But what you were asking me about with that revocable trust, I'm gonna put that statement back up there real quick. What you was asking me about with that revocable trust is because you can make the changes on a revocable trust, any clauses that you did not put in the trust originally, you find that what you're doing is a problem that you need to put a clause in there for. That's what the revocable trust is for, to make changes. The more complex that the trust needs to be based on the quantity of assets you have and how the assets are supposed to be distributed, the more defined that you make your revocable trust. Your revocable trust can stay a revocable trust until you die, and once you die, it automatically becomes an irrevocable trust. But at any point in time, when you're satisfied with the design of the trust that you're making, you can make it a non-revocable non-revocable trust. Once you make it a non-revocable trust, it cannot be changed anymore. So you either use it or you don't, as it is, because you legally cannot change anything that trust has possession over. So, like, for example, if you want to allow yourself to rent out the houses that you're in, he said, "Nah, you cooking me now." It's fun though. Well, yeah, and this time we had all the pieces on the board too. So I was over here like, this isn't gonna end well. I seen how you was trying to trap me, and then I was like, nope, Suicide Squad. And I started making unorthodox moves. Like, I wonder what he's gonna do if I do this. When I start moving the pieces, you fell into a position. I can't even say I trapped you, bro. I didn't even trap you. I was just like, yo, he's either going to leave himself hanging, or he's gonna be like, I'm gonna think of a new strategy. Oh yeah, that's right. You started without your queen. Mr. Pibbs is the one that's got the full board, because I'm playing Mr. Pibbs too. Mr. Pibbs and a couple other people. Now I'm playing 4 games at a time right now. Brought me, I had gotten out of the game, and Ruderus then brought me right back in. I'm playing 4 games a day. Now I gotta check it twice a day, so I can't not make my move, because I gotta check it twice a day every day, right before I go to bed and right when I wake up. But yeah, Bayside, it's important for you to make sure that you double check what you got going on, and see how what you're setting up is because you don't want to confuse yourself with your setup. A basic setup is good, but as you add more stuff, like, you might just put your bank accounts in there, or you might just put your house in there, and that's a simple trust. But after you put the house in there, you might want to put the cars in there and lease the cars out to the business, or you might want to put the house in there and then lease the house to the businesses, or something to that effect. And then you might want to put your business in there, and then you might have to change those things around. So there's a lot of stuff that you got to do. Once you finish making the changes where you satisfied, that's when you make it irrevocable. But even as a revocable trust, from what I understand about the trust, the principal is still not taxed. So if the revocable trust receives money from an irrevocable trust, and then the beneficiary of the revocable trust receives money from the revocable trust, it's still not taxable. So you can have a basic one that you're doing right now for, like you say right now, basically for the family and the home, right? But you can have it set up where you can talk to a lawyer and make sure that it's doable, but make it seem like one of the stipulations to get on a trust is that you must maintain a whole life insurance policy, right? Then the beneficiary gets dividends from the trust, and they take the dividends from the trust and they pay that whole life insurance policy. Then if something happens to one of the beneficiaries of the trust, the whole life insurance policy pays the trust. Then the trust can either invest that capital or distribute a percentage of that capital to the parties. You can set up a fixed amount where each person gets a $2,000 to $5,000 a month on a regular basis, or you can set it up where each person gets an equal share. I would do 60% stays, 40% splits. That way you're doing increasing of your principal if you're investing your principal into your shares, into stocks and stuff, and say, okay, well, 40% of the money that the trust makes as a profit, 60% gets reinvested. The other 40% is divided between all the beneficiaries equally. So if there's 3 people, then we're dividing 40% by like what, 10, 12, 13%. But if there's like 40 people, everybody gets 1%. But if it's 1% of $1 billion, everybody's still getting a lot of money. So the thing is, when you're starting it off, is you, your wife, maybe 2 kids, you 3 kids, you got 5 people on there. If mom and dad die, you got $2 million life insurance policies that pay into the trust. The 3 kids are going to split 40% of $2 million between mom and dad. That's a decent quantity of capital. See what I'm saying? So, or you could say 40% annually, divided between monthly distributions, where out of $400,000, divided between 3 people, everybody's getting a little over 100,000 a year, but it'll be issued to them monthly in monthly distributions where each person's making close to $10,000 a month. But you're still taking the other 60% and putting it away where their money will keep coming back so they don't spend the whole principal. That's what I would do. But that requires you to structure your the investment requirements for the capital gains that the trust is given from the grantor, so that the trust can legally invest the stuff and then legally distribute the dividends, pay taxes on the dividends, all this other stuff. So yeah, the non-revocable, the revocable is what you want to start with. And then once you're good with it, then you can go to the revocable. But you also can stick with the non-revocable. I mean, stick with a revocable before you switch over to the non-revocable and make your second trust the revocable. Because you can always do a Schedule K and have one trust give money to another trust for whatever reason. And any gains that was given away is not taxed. So if you create a different trust and make your original trust a beneficiary and take all of the capital gains and send it to the other trust and then send it to another trust and then have that trust send it to this trust and have the principal sent to you, you can still bypass the system. As the capital gains increase, we just got to make better changes. He said, Jake the Snake. And Rudiman said, I love juggling games at once. It's fun. It gives you more to do because you're only taking one turn unless you're doing the predictive turns where you're going to hypothesize as to what moves your partner is going to make. And then you're going to make moves based on the moves that you think they're going to make. And every now and again, I have come across where you followed along what I thought you were going to do. And I know you see like, oh, snap, he made 3 moves. And that gets overwhelming because now you're like, ooh, it's minute chess. I remember them games. But yeah, even with 3 days to think about what your next move is going to be, yeah, it gets hard. I used to, back when I was a kid, we used to play chess in class where nobody would touch the chessboard. So what would happen is that you make a move, I would make a move, we come back tomorrow, where we left the game at, that's where it's at today. You make a move, I make a move, and we would keep doing that. So what was your strategy from yesterday? You got to remember that today or next week, because it's like 7 moves over 7 days. And, you know, it's still, I mean, I can't say my brother was in tournaments. He became a chess master because he was beating everybody. I wasn't that guy. I had too much stuff to do. I was out there trying to make money as a youngin. I just made it a point to beat him. So instead of me getting into oh yeah, I'm on my way out. Special shout out to Oakland, California. Special shout out to them. Special shout out to Bayside, because we about to tiptoe out of here as well. But I just wanted to tell Ruderus this right before I walked out the door. What I usually do in life, and you could take this with you on your way out the door, Bayside, is instead of me doing the gauntlet, being number 1 in a Royal Rumble and fighting my way to the last person, I am going to have a match with the winner of the Royal Rumble and just beat the champion. I don't really have any interest in fighting my way to the top. I just want to fight the guy at the top. It's that old saying that our parents used to tell us, is that you don't got to fight the whole crowd. You just got to beat up the biggest person in the crowd, and everybody else in the crowd will stop. Because if the biggest person in the crowd can beat up everybody else and you can beat him up, then everybody else's mentality has been destroyed, because they believe that by proxy, if you can beat that guy, then that means you can beat everybody else in the room. So I never go after the guy at the bottom and work my way up. I skip the guy at the bottom and go straight to the top. Even in my arguments with disputes in grocery stores or whatever the case may be, I'm just like Karen. I want to talk to your manager, because I'm not going to fight you because you're insignificant. I want to talk to your boss. I want to talk to your boss's boss. I want to talk to the CEO. I want to talk to the franchise owner, because I want to talk to somebody who has enough authority to make the decisions around here. Because anybody who tells me I can't, That's bullshit. It's not that you can't, you don't want to. You can do whatever the fuck you want to do unless somebody else that has more control and more authority over the situation than you do tells you what you're not allowed to do. That's what you're not allowed to do. It's not that you can't do it. It's just that they won't let you do it and you'll get in trouble if you do. So I don't want to talk to you. I want to talk to the person that has all the control. I want to talk to the person that has all the authority. I don't want to talk to the attorney. I want to talk to the judge. I don't want to talk to the bailiff. I want to talk to the person sitting at the big desk at the top with the hammer, because that's the person that calls all the shots in the room. And I don't always like to talk to that person. I like to talk to the one that has the big ass desk that covers 3/4 of the room with 5 people sitting up there. Yeah, judicial review. We're talking about the judge's boss, because everybody's got a boss. Because if I don't like what that judge says, I want to talk to that judge's boss, and I'm going to see if I can get a different result, because you're not going to get a result. The first person that you talk to, it's their job to shut you down. It's their job to keep you paying money for whatever you don't want to pay money for. It's their job to discourage you from complaining. It's their job to discourage you from reporting. But it is not your responsibility to allow them to do their job. I recognize what you're trying to do, and I don't want to talk to you. I want to talk to somebody who's going to resolve my problems. So I just go for the guy at the top, always. And I'm more successful that way. I can say that 90% of the time I get whatever I'm looking for, because a lot of people don't know Suge Knight method actually works. If you research what you're after and you find out where the CEO works, you don't have to make an appointment with the CEO. You can have a conversation with him outside of his office, on his way to his car. It's only a problem if you're threatening his safety. But if he's a CEO of the company and you're like, hey, I got a problem with one of your employees, blah, 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 make an appointment. I tried, but your secretary is not willing to allow me to make an appointment. And I'm one step away from taking legal action against your company. And I was hoping I could have a little bit of your time so I could explain to you what my concerns are, so I don't have to escalate this to legal action. That conversation right there, well, what's your problem? But now I just bypassed everybody in the building because I found out who the CEO was, and I went and talked to the CEO when the CEO couldn't tell me no. Only time that doesn't work is if he's got security surrounding him. But that only happens to people who are afraid for their safety. Millionaires and billionaires very rarely are afraid for their safety, unless they're doing unethical practices that the public doesn't know about. So with that being said, that's all I got for you guys for today. I appreciate you sticking it out that last extra seconds, Bayside. I'm going to see you tomorrow. I'm going to get you information about treasuries. And then we're going to be talking about some investment opportunities for tomorrow. So that's going to be the primary course of our topics for tomorrow. In addition to that, we're going to be picking a new country for Wednesday. So I'm going to try to see if I can get that set up tonight so that we can have the next 2 days on the books so that you guys know what you're looking forward to. Besides that, ladies, as long as the situation doesn't make sense, I'm going to keep asking you ladies to make it make sense. So ladies, please make it make sense. About 72% of us are men right now. So I really appreciate the men showing us support. Make sure you guys keep liking and subscribing. Keep mashing those reaction buttons. Anybody with comments to throw down on the show as we wrap things up, those comments will go up as long as they're appropriate during the outro of the show. Special shout out to alanito.music in Switzerland for giving us the exclusive This and That tracks that we've been playing throughout the show. Special shout out to Danny from Denmark for promoting it for us. We really appreciate that as well. And thank you guys for giving me your time coming to This and That. My name is Xander, where we talk about this, that, and everything in between. I'll see you guys tomorrow night.
Higher ground. Used to chase validation, now I validate myself. That's my personal command. I'm not landing on higher ground where excellence is found. My potential knows no bounds, raising the bar, breaking ground. I'm not just living, I'm manifesting my vision, cutting through limitations with surgical precision. My expectations are my compass, my respect is my shield to mediocrity and chaos. I will never I'm not just living, I'm manifesting my vision, cutting through limitations with surgical precision. My expectations are my compass, my respect is my shield to mediocrity and chaos. I will never yield.